I'm Lily.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
And we're a part of
Teaching What Matters.
Today, we're going to be making
Step hats.
because we're going to be doing a lot of videos in the future that involve cooking. And we want to have STYLE style. Are you ready? Let's do this. Step 1, pick your fabric.
You can choose any fabric that you want.
First thing we're going to do is grab our 1 yard of fabric and fold it, just like this. What you want to make sure of is you cut the right corner.
The way to do that is by finding the corner where all the fabric connects, like this one.
First things first, we need to measure out our fabric. What we're going to need for this step, we're going to need a ruler and fabric chalk. And it needs to be a color that contrasts the color of our fabric. This step is we're going to be measuring from this corner that we talked about, the one that's the most connected, and we're going to be measuring out 10 inches from the edge of that corner. Let's do it. With your ruler, you're going to measure a quarter circle all the way around 10 inches out from this edge. And you're going to mark those points with your chalk. Make sure to keep your ruler in the corner. Now we're going to connect all the dots. And there we go.
Now we're going to start cutting.
This is what it should look like. On the halfway crease of your circle, you want to measure 3.5 inches toward the center and cut.
Now we need to cut 8 inches of bias tape, and I will mark it. So I will stop cutting. And there you go.
Now you're going to take your double folded bias tape and you're going to open it up once like a book. You want to make sure that your fabric is lined up along this crease. Alright, so now we have our bias tape pinned onto our fabric. It's time to sew it. I'm going to put this edge of our bias tape onto the 3/8 mark of the sewing machine, and we'll put my foot on the pedal and we'll get started.
Make sure not to put your whole foot on the pedal.
And before we do that, you want to make sure we press our foot down. Remember to remove your first pin before you start the sewing machine so that way nothing gets messed up. Let's go. We're going to move forward and then go backward, and then we'll start doing the actual sewing. Okay, so this is the finished step. Make sure once you get to the end that you lock in your stitches by reversing and then going all the way off of the bias tape, pulling it, or you want to lift up your presser foot, then pull it all the way off the board and cut it on the side piece here. This is what it looks like when we're done. Okay, now it's time to do the pleats. We're gonna get our 2 fingers here, and we wanna make sure there's about 2 inches in between them. Then we're gonna get our middle finger and kind of push that fabric to where the edge lines up with our bias tape. And then we're gonna get a pin, push it through, and that one's done. Now we'll move on to our next one, about 2 inches. Use your middle finger, cut that, and that should line up with the edge of the other one. You don't want it to overlap too much, or else that could cause problems later on in the project. And I'm just gonna go through and pin it up. And you'll keep going all the way to get to the other side of the bias tape over here. All right, now it's time to measure out our strip for the bottom of our hat. What we're gonna do is we want to measure up 7 inches from the bottom right here. We're just gonna use the mat to measure. Get our chalk, mark it at 7, make sure it's lined up good. All right, and then we'll go all the way over here to 25 inches and mark that as well. All right.
Now that our strip is cut, it's time to attach it to the top of our hat.
So in order to get these 2 pieces where they need to be, you want to have what we call the pretty side facing the pretty side, and you want to have it lined up with your bias tape like this. And then you're going to get a pin right outside the bias tape. Just go down and attach it. And now we're done.
Now we gotta sew it.
Now we're gonna sew in our pleats. Make sure when you take out your pins, you hold down the pleat so that way it doesn't come undone. It's better to hold it down on both sides, that way it has more support. Now it's time to lock in our stitch. All right, now let's cut our string, and it's done. For this next portion, we're going to be lining these edges up from the strap. We're folding it in half, and we're trying to hide this seam. So you need to have your hat inside out, have it set up like this, and then you're just going to pin this portion right here, this small portion, and have the edges meet up exactly.
Knock knock.
Who's the?
You interrupt the cat. Moo.
Now it is pinned, and this is what it should look like. Next up is we need to sew it on. Now, we're at the end. I'm just gonna finish this up really quick, make sure to lock in my stitches. Foot. Yeah. Okay, now it's all sewn, and when we flip it over, it looks beautiful.
Now what we need to do is add in
Velcro. Now, onto our final step, attaching the Velcro. What you're gonna do is you're gonna start off on this rough side. You're going to attach it right here after you take off this paper. And while it's still attached, and while the two pieces of Velcro are still attached, you're gonna take off this adhesive paper and put the overlapping piece on, and then you're done. All right, let's do it.
that one's hard to take off. And there you have it.
Chef at Fashion Show.
Make sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.
Teaching what matters.